Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC football podcast. My name is Joey Weaver. He is Mike McDaniel. Mike, first question, who's your favorite guest that we've ever had on this podcast?
He's the guy who's joining us once again, Joey, Cam Underwood.
Mr. Cam Underwood of stateoftheu.com on the ASB Nation Network, covering none other than the Miami Hurricanes, our beloved. Cam, welcome back. Good to have you on the program again.
Guys, it's been way too long. I always mess with you on Twitter and everything about, getting me back. But it's old home week. We were talking for 20 minutes before recording and whatnot just because we're just such good friends. So I love the fact that you guys invited me back. It's a big week, obviously, with the rivalry game for Miami. But it's always good to be here on the basketball conference. So I'm excited.
Well, it's that time of year to get you back on. Like you said, it is a big week. Miami hosting Florida State, always a major rivalry game, one of the most visible rivalry games across the country that goes on in the ACC. So let's just jump right in. Let's start right there. 3:30 on ABC. The Florida State Seminoles on the road in Coral Gables against your number 17 Miami Hurricanes, Cam. The Canes laying 13.5 in this game. It's a huge line. Totals 48.5. And yet, we talked a little bit before the podcast. I think that you're feeling fairly confident even with this big number. Miami just an objectively better football team than Florida State as far as what we've seen so far this year.
You heard Joey say it, so don't come at me about it. But honestly. The game is in Miami Gardens because we do not have an on-campus stadium because we play at an NFL stadium, and everybody knows that. So going to Miami Gardens, not to Coral Gables, to be perfectly accurate. But yeah, I know I was in Dallas for the opener against LSU, and I know that was a terrible game, and most people turned off the game at 33-3, LSU beating Miami. And, he had a couple cosmetic touchdowns after that. But, Miami's quietly done exactly what Miami needs to do in the last 4 weeks, blowing teams out, winning by an average of 27.5 points. That margin would be larger if not for playing second and third string people against FIU and letting that margin get a little bit closer than that, a couple weeks ago. But yeah, Miami is starting to click on many cylinders. The defense has been pretty dominant all year long. I know obviously in the LSU game, you gave up the 50-yard touchdown run. You gave up a couple other things on some short fields because the offense wasn't really helping out. But Miami, like I said, has quietly done what Miami needs to do. And in years past, even with Mark Richt at the helm, even last year and the year before, games against inferior opponents were close. This year, games against inferior opponents have not been close. So that is a step in the positive direction. So, yeah, I do believe that Miami is the better team. I think that is pretty much clear. And just like I said to you guys right before we started recording, and I've said this before, I've written it, I said it on radio and all kinds of other places. If you put up anonymous blind stat profiles for Miami and Florida State, and you took them to random college football fans, you said, okay, team A or team B, removing all the names, removing all the context that are, the the preconceived notions of the teams. If you just took anonymous stat profiles of those teams and said, who's going to win? People would pick the Miami profile team to win by 3 or 4 touchdowns. And when you put on the context of, it's a rivalry game, it's the name of Florida State, things like that change. But I think that Miami is a better team, period. And I've, thought that they were going to do some numbers against Florida State in recent years, and I think that's going to continue this year.
Yep, fair enough. That's how I feel about it too. Florida State, I saw them in person that same opening weekend, Cam. I was in Tallahassee. We were all enjoying the Miami game, as you can imagine. But with that being said, we go into the game on that Monday night, and I was as surprised as everybody else was about Virginia Tech upsetting Florida State at that time. Not anymore. Of course, Virginia Tech goes, they lose to Old Dominion, whatever. Neither teams might be any good. I don't know. We'll find out. On to this game. Florida State can't block Miami up front. They can't block anybody up front. That's the problem. Joey, I'm going to go with let's just put in DeAndre Francois' hands and see what happens and pray. Because Florida State cannot run the football, and they can't protect Francois, and this is a very good front seven that Miami has. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. Oh, and it's on the road. And N'Kosi Perry is now on the other side playing quarterback, something that we have been yelling for.
Yes.
For what, 2 years easily?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Cam and I. Yeah, Cam and I have been fighting the good fight on Twitter against literally every single Miami fan that's been in that faction about Malik Rozier and how great he is, for better or worse. We've been fighting that good fight together, and now we don't have to fight anymore. N'Kosi Perry certainly looks a lot better, and we'll see how he plays against a Florida State defense that's held up pretty well so far, despite a offense that's been less than stellar. So we'll find out how good Florida State's defense is in this football game, because this is the first true offensive competition they've faced, in my opinion, in Miami. I think they'll be fine, but it's not going to be enough to win this game because of what's going to happen on the other side of the field. DeAndre Francois does a pretty good job taking care of the football overall, but I think the issue is going to be the fact that Florida State's going to become one-dimensional in this football game because they haven't run the ball against really anybody all year. I don't see them running the ball this Saturday against Miami. 13.5 seems like a big number. I'm not sure it's really all that big. I like Miami to win this game by 14 to 17 points. I think they win this game and cover at home.
Mike, I got to say, I'm really disappointed to hear that week one you were really enjoying watching our beloved Miami Hurricanes struggling against those dirty LSU Tigers. That's really upsetting that you were enjoying that. That's very sad.
Yeah.
Cam, here's my thing with this game. And what we have said so far, everything, yes, Florida State has been a bit of a mess on offense. Their defense has struggled to finish games as their offense struggles to stay on the field. Miami has looked like a much more complete team for a month now. My biggest problem with wanting to lay 2 touchdowns with Miami is the way that you have talked about this game in the past, this general rivalry series, is that this game seems to transcend objective football logic. And that's the problem here. Is Miami a better team right now than Florida State? Yes. Put them on the same field. Is that going to hold up? Maybe, maybe not. You could flip the names in any given year, and it's the same thing, right? And so I think that's my biggest hang up here and what makes me nervous about trying to, again, a huge point spread here. That's what I'm worried about. I mean, are you kind of in that place, or you just can't see it with Florida State yet?
I just can't see it for Florida State, but I do agree that I have said that, the rivalry game between Miami and Florida State does transcend normal football knowledge. Even, the players and coaches have said it, this week, even on both sides, like, we're trying harder. There is just more of a focus. Guys have, played with and against each other from the optimist level. I mean, third grade football all the way up through middle school, through high school. They played, Miami Central, Miami Northwestern, on the same and different teams. Wherever you go in the state of Florida, there's so many guys who have such a close connection. And obviously, everybody's going to be watching. It's ACC football. It's ABC, 3:30 p.m. national television. Everybody wants to be there. Obviously, so many guys on both teams are from Miami. It's going to be a packed house. I'm going to be getting there at about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning for tailgating. It's going to be awesome. I actually finally got coverage for this full week from the website, so I get to be a fan fully this week, which is awesome. I've never actually worked a home Miami-Florida State game because I like to let loose. I like to actually be a fan because I'm an alum of Miami. Like, I want to, just kind of let that go. But yeah, it's going to be a big game. And, like I said, everybody associated said, look, we're trying harder. Florida State, okay, our offensive line, we're staying after. We're watching more stuff. The defensive backs, okay, we're really working on our communication because there were guys running butt naked, wide open, doing backflips and cartwheels in the LSU or the Louisville game last week. But Jawan Pass is not actually good at doing what his last name says he should be able to do. So, he missed some guys, missed 4 or 5 touchdowns. And, Florida State was able to come back and win, obviously. And Bobby Petrino had the worst play call in the history of life, as I know that you guys had as the ACC moment of the week. But yeah, I even with Miami, Florida State transcending general football knowledge, I just think that Florida State is not very good right now. And I think that Miami is demonstrably better. And even with both teams trying harder, that gap is still going to be pretty sizable. So for me, I'm going to take Miami, and I'm going to take those points. Let's go.
You gonna lock that one up?
I'm gonna lock that up. That's gonna be my pick of the week.
Damn.
Yeah. No, we're gonna start really early. I'm coming out hot. I'm coming out firing. So in a question and answer with the Florida State website, I just finished that up, and I said 38-20 Miami wins. And last time I did my math, 18 is larger than 13.5. Therefore, I picked them to cover already. And even talking with other people, Mike just said 14-17. Bud Elliott said before or last week when he was doing his pre-handicapping, he would have put the number at 16.5, which is larger than 13.5. So pretty much anybody that I know and trust is saying that Miami should win by more than that. And I just really believe that, Miami's not beaten Florida State at home since 2004. I think that Miami is rolling. I think these last 4 weeks have really given this team an identity. And just a purpose even more, especially because of losing the LSU game. But, just like Mike alluded to, look, we finally went to N'Kosi Perry, who is the talent at quarterback. I mean, he's 6'4", he's 195 pounds. He has a rocket arm. He can run. The offense the whole team looks different in a very tangible way with him out there. And I know that this is his first game, but, he was Mr. Football runner-up as a junior in high school. He was the 6A player of the year at Ocala Vanguard High School. He shattered records that had previously been set by Dante Culpepper of UCF and Minnesota Vikings and Miami Dolphins fame when he was in high school. This kid can play, and I know that we haven't seen a lot of him at the college level because for whatever reason, Mark Richt went with Malik Rozier, but you guys know I've been all in on the N'Kosi train for 2 years. Me and Mike just saying, hey, Malik Rozier's not that good. Now that Ferrari that we've been just keeping in the back. I mean, y'all know my first name's Cameron, right? Or Cameron, but whatever. If you've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? Cameron's dad had that awesome car that he just kept there to look at. But finally, you put that thing on the road and you're going 95 and it's just smooth. That's what N'Kosi Perry is for this offense. I think that Miami wins. I think that Miami wins fairly convincingly. And yeah, that's going to be my pick of the week. Lock it up.
Damn, right out the gate. All right, here's where I'm at. There's two big things I've got on this game that I'm going to use in my pick here. Number one, I trust Miami a lot more to play a full 60 minutes than I trust Florida State right now. Again, their defense tends to wear down as their offense struggles throughout the game, and by the fourth quarter, they're struggling to keep up. Number two, a bit on a related note, is the biggest thing that Florida State's been able to succeed on offense is anything involving DeAndre Francois in the passing game. Problem is, with the way that they've been blocking for him and what Miami's front seven can do, DeAndre Francois better be doing extra sessions in the chapel this week and praying because
my God.
My goodness gracious. That might be real bad. Real bad. So I think I'm with you guys. Let's lay 13.5. Miami covers and wins comfortably.
We're laying 13.5 in a rivalry game.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are.
Mike, it's our beloved Miami Hurricanes. We couldn't do anything else here.
Good Lord.
No other way about it. All right.
And don't think I don't hear you over here on the Joey and Mike Hate Miami podcast trying to mollify me with that. I hear you guys. You better not be reverse jinxing me, or I swear to God, I will find you, and I know where you guys live both.
I will put money on this game, Cam. I'm on fire lately, so let's keep it going.
Amen to that.
Don't know what you're talking about, Cam. Let's move on. Friday evening, 7 o'clock on ESPN, my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, a 4-point road favorite in Louisville, taking on the Cardinals. First time these teams have ever matched up, which is interesting. Also, we get a good look at the notorious BVG trying to defend the Georgia Tech offense, which should be a whole thing. Everything about this game in my head tells me that Georgia Tech's a better team, tells me that they should beat Louisville. And for that reason, I'm taking Louisville in the points and taking Louisville outright because I need to do some emotional hedging or something because I don't trust Georgia Tech on the road at all until I see it. There is no analysis here. It's just straight up they can't win on the road. Give me Louisville 28-24 winners over Georgia Tech. That's it.
Cam is crying.
Himself.
Dude, Louisville is so bad. They're
Agreed.
So bad. Very bad. Very bad at football. Defensive coordinator still sucks. Doesn't matter who it is. Still sucks. Petrino hired him. So
agreed.
Bad. Juwan Pass can't complete a pass. Cam's alluded to that a couple different times. Interesting.
I mean, I watched Bowling Green nearly shred this Georgia Tech defense last week. They only got 17 points, but they threw for like 400 yards. So keep that in mind.
That's the only problem is Juwan Pass doesn't know up from down at this point. So that's the issue I'm running into here. Georgia Tech is going to win this game easily. Can't believe it's only 4. Cannot believe it's only 4. I think Georgia Tech wins this game by 10 to 13 points. Nothing about watching this Louisville team gives me any shred of any inkling, like literally any reason to pick them. They're very bad. Georgia Tech, They might be bad too, but they're not as bad as Louisville. Give me Georgia Tech. They win and cover on the road for once. They get it done. Cam?
Yeah, no, I agree with Mike. I mean, I know that, okay, Georgia Tech and Louisville are both 0-2 in conference so far, but I mean, Louisville's bad, and they barely lost to Florida State. So if you're backing that up to the Florida State Miami game, like, that's not really a good team. And I know they're going to try harder, but like, dude, like, okay, Bowling Green threw all over Georgia Tech. Bowling Green, that's what they do. That's what they have done. Going back to Urban Meyer, going back to Dino Babers, and in the MAC conference, you just throw the ball around and like eventually you're going to run a little bit, but that's what teams of that ilk do, especially Bowling Green Falcons. So them having success through the air is a thing that they've been built for. So I'm not necessarily going to spin that forward, especially with Jawan Pass, who can't do what his last name says he should be able to do, as I've said before. So yeah, I just really think that Georgia Tech is going to come out. And Joey, you were talking earlier about the budding coaching rivalry between Paul Johnson and Bobby Petrino. So I would love to see that boil over into some kind of a thing. But I could see either guy just, in the let's be jerks kind of mold, like, running it up on the other guy. But I don't think that Louisville's really good. I don't think that Jawan Pass is going to be able to have the success that the Bowling Green quarterback, whatever his name is and whoever it is, because nobody knows, had against Georgia Tech. So, yeah, I'm not as bullish as Mike, but, yeah, give me Georgia Tech by a touchdown.
Yeah, for those unaware, Bobby Petrino came out yesterday. We're recording this Wednesday evening. He came out yesterday griping about how the gold numbers on Georgia Tech's jerseys at home made it hard for film study because you couldn't really see who the players were, which, by the way, Bobby Petrino, if you think that your team's biggest issue right now is that you can't identify individual player tendencies on your opponent, I've got bad news for you. But then Paul Johnson comes back this afternoon saying something about how maybe Bobby just needs to get some glasses, and I'll be damned if I am not here for this kind of nonsense from Paul Johnson and Bobby Petrino. Here for it. Yes, please. Look, you guys are totally right. I mean, everything objectively about this game tells me that Georgia Tech should win it. I just can't trust him on the road. I can't trust Jaquan Marshall on the road. He hasn't won a road game. People will remember him from putting up 250 rushing yards on Tennessee to start the year last year, and he's had some fantastic performances at home, but you go on the road and everything just seems to go sideways for this team. And I can't explain it. I don't know that anybody can at this point, but I hope they win. I'll be wearing a Georgia Tech shirt in the Georgia Tech section at this game Friday night. So look for me on camera. I'll probably be looking like irritated or questionable or something. I don't know, but I hope they win. I'm not going to pick them to do so until I see them do it. So give me Louisville outright. I said 28-24. Let's bump that up a little bit. Let's go like 34-28. I think it's a little higher scoring. I think Louisville's going to be able to move the ball.
I don't know, dude.
That's it. Mike, you said Tech -4?
I said, yeah, I got Georgia Tech -4. And I'm locking it up, Joey.
Woo!
I'm locking it up.
Damn you, Mike.
You said 34-28. Can Louisville score 14 points?
Against this defense, they can.
This is a bad defense. It's a pretty bad offense too, though. I don't know.
Louisville definitely said that last week too, but Louisville had wide open guys that they missed. I mean, there's no reason that they shouldn't have had 4 or 5 more touchdowns. But I mean, I don't trust them to execute. I don't think that really either quarterback that they have is the answer. So yeah, Georgia Tech by a touchdown. Let's go.
It is actually. I'm curious to see which quarterback wins the rock paper scissors battle in the game in the locker room before the game and comes out for Louisville, because at this point it really could be either one. Yeah, Louisville 34, Georgia Tech 28. I hope it goes the other way, and I hope my team wins. We'll report back. Let's move on to Saturday, gentlemen. 8 o'clock on ABC. This is actually probably the most nationally relevant game of the weekend in the ACC. The number 24 Virginia Tech Hokies, a 6-point home dog to the number 6 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Mike, you sound a little bit fired up to take these points with the Hokies.
I am going to this football game, and I could not be more excited about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Notre Dame is a 6-point favorite. That seems like a lot of points until you look at the Virginia Tech defense and their complete and total inability to tackle in the secondary, which is ironic because they have a couple of potential All-Americans in that defensive backfield. So, how do I feel about this game? Not very good this year. Not good this year. Maybe in the future when some of these young guys get a little bit better. Not right now. Notre Dame found a quarterback, boys. Ian Book seems like he might be all right. And if he's all right, Notre Dame might be a playoff dark horse, maybe, with that schedule. Seems like they could win 12. This might be their toughest game remaining on their schedule. I know they go out, they play USC at the end of the year. They have a random game against Northwestern in there after going out to play in San Diego against Navy. There are a couple weird games left. This is the toughest atmosphere that Notre Dame will play in the rest of the year. As for Virginia Tech on the other side, great bounce-back win against Duke last weekend. Ryan Willis looks like the real deal at quarterback. Looks like he might have been the better quarterback. But he's a gunslinger, and he's going up against a Notre Dame secondary that is absolutely outstanding. They have a very good pass rush, and I worry a bit about Virginia Tech's ability to block Notre Dame's front seven. Give me this. This hurts because I'll be in the stands. Give me Notre Dame to cover 6, barely. I wouldn't bet this game. I think Notre Dame on a neutral site is probably a touchdown to 10 points better. You go down to Blacksburg, it's a tough atmosphere to play in prime time and all that. But Virginia Tech hasn't really played all that well in prime time in the last, 5 years. So you got all that working. I don't know. Notre Dame wins, I think, and I think they cover. I sound real convinced here now. I don't know. Let's find out together.
Cam, you feeling more confident in his Hokies than he is?
Well, first of all, let me circle back. Virginia Tech played really, really well in prime time in week 1, so let's not overlook that.
Against a really, really, really bad team.
Hey,
who was that against, Cam? Who was that against?
The Florida State Seminoles in the opener, but that was not a team that people thought would be 3-2 with a couple year misses. Again, and Florida State could realistically be 1-4 right now, and it's not a far stretch to think so. I mean, Samford and Louisville gave them all that they could handle. So, obviously not the same Bobby Bowden.
I can't believe that's a sentence we're saying in 2018. Samford gave Florida State all they could handle, but they did.
They did. Where's the lie? That was a game into the late fourth quarter. I think it was 5 minutes left, and when they finally pulled away, obviously Louisville, without the stupidest play call that I've seen in recent memory, they win that game. So, it's not a far cry to think that, Florida State could be 1-4 right now, but they're not. But in any event, Virginia Tech did play very well in prime time and beat them. And I think that Virginia Tech is going to show some things this week, going back to, this current game. And I just don't think that they have enough. I think that they're a little bit too green in the defensive backfield. And I want to say to Notre Dame fans that you're welcome for Ian Book, because I think he grew from that iconic pick 6 that he threw to Trajan Bandy at Hard Rock Stadium last November. He grew from that and became the quarterback that you're seeing now. So I know that you hated getting beat down by Miami 41-8 last year if you're a Notre Dame fan and you're listening to this. But that moment was a seminal moment, and that was a transformational moment for Ian Book, who is now leading your team. So you guys are welcome for that. But yeah, I just think that, since they, and the mantra a couple weeks ago was, or across the nation, was really changing quarterbacks to the new vanguard. You had Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. You had Ian Book at Notre Dame. You have N'Kosi Perry at Miami, and a couple other guys also throughout the country whose names I don't remember. But my point is, there were multiple quarterback changes, and I think that Notre Dame is a demonstrably better team because of theirs, just like I said, Miami is as well. So I think that Notre Dame is going to win probably in the 7-10 range, just because they're a little bit bigger, faster, stronger, and better right now. But I think it's going to be a game into the third quarter.
By the way, real quick, while we're talking about Florida State's near miss to Samford, I just want to bring up, we've got breaking news here. Since the near miss to Florida State, Samford has lost to Mercer, UT Chattanooga, and Kennesaw State. Just throwing that out there.
Yikes.
They are winless in the FCS. Just throwing it out there. I think I'm with you guys. Notre Dame has looked like just a significantly different team since changing to Ian Book a couple of weeks ago. Their offense is just miles more effective, and their defense was already really good. And I think it's that defense that's going to make a huge difference here. I don't know how Ryan Francis is going to do throwing into that defense. I know that Virginia Tech struggles to run the ball already. So moving the ball is going to come at a premium for the Hokies. I think that they're going to make a couple shots, especially against a Hokie secondary that has struggled at times against some of these more vertical attacks. So I think I'm with you guys. I'm going to lay the 6 with Notre Dame. Maybe let's go Irish win 27-17. And Mike, I'm just now realizing that this is the week where my team plays my team and your team plays your team. That's kind of an interesting place to be as a college football fan.
It is. But here we are.
Oh, you fake fans with your multiple teams. You guys.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that I shot that shot and I got silence back from that. That's awesome.
I got nothing. He's not wrong. All right. We all agree then Notre Dame -6.
Seems like a lot, but maybe not.
I would think that there's a better chance that Notre Dame blows out Virginia Tech here than Virginia Tech winning outright. I think I would agree. Tough. I mean, tough place to play. Virginia Tech has had their moments, and they looked pretty good last week against Duke and all that. But
it's Duke.
I think we might be watching playoff Notre Dame here, and I think they might be getting there. So, yeah, let's lay the 6 with Notre Dame and Blacksburg. 3:30 on ESPN. The number 4 Clemson Tigers, an 18-point road favorite in Winston-Salem against the Wake Forest Steeman Deacons. Cam, are you a little scared of Wake here if you're a Clemson fan?
Not really.
Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be playing.
Exactly. Trevor Lawrence is going to be back, so he's supposed to be playing. I know that Wake Forest does have that unique offense. I know Greg Dortch is a beast. He was as a freshman, and then he tore his ACL diving into the end zone. No. He had like a punctured spleen or something that he dove into the end zone and the pylon.
Yep.
Yeah. Got it. So
weird injury.
Yeah, no, it was a punctured small intestine. He almost died. He went straight to the hospital after the game. Missed the rest of the season, obviously, but he's come back and he has over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns already. So he's a beast and everything. I know that they're going to be keyed up because, much like when Miami goes on the road anywhere or at home, like Miami's going to get everybody's best shot. Clemson, even more so. Clemson, obviously 3-time playoff team, 16 national champions. They take the show on the road. That's the biggest show that pretty much anybody's going to get. So obviously Wake Forest is going to be keyed up. I just don't see how they're going to stop them. Travis Etienne in the run game. Tavian Feaster was a 5-star recruit a couple of years ago. He barely sees the field. They have wide receiver on top of wide receiver on top of wide receiver. Sunshine Lawrence, I've been watching that kid since Miami offered him as a sophomore in high school a few years ago. And I knew then that he was the truth. And it met and exceeded my expectations from then. So, yeah, he gets back in the game. He's going to get going. I think the Clemson's going to roll. Period. And obviously, the Clemson defensive line playing very well. Trayvon Mullen, who's a Coconut Creek native from down here in South Florida, he looks like he could be a potential first-round draft pick at cornerback as well. Clemson's just loaded. Clemson's on a mission. They had a couple close scares, obviously against Syracuse last week and things like that, but I don't think this one's going to be close. I think that Clemson's going to sufficiently flex their muscles down in Winston-Salem at Wake Forest, so give me Clemson.
I thought that Wake Forest might cover against Notre Dame a couple of weeks ago, and whoops. Yeah. And I think Clemson is better than Notre Dame. And there's nothing that makes me believe coming off of that game a couple of weeks ago that makes me believe anyway that Wake Forest can cover against a better team than Notre Dame. So give me Clemson to win and cover on the road in Winston-Salem. I think it's a nice bounce back day for the offense. I think Trevor Lawrence, hopefully he's able to stay on the field. Defensively, Wake Forest is not Syracuse. So Sam Hartman's nice. I think he'll be a nice player for Wake Forest for a while, but this is not the Syracuse offense. So give me Clemson to win this thing comfortably here.
Mike, it's funny that you mentioned that Clemson is a better team than Notre Dame, because I was going to ask you if this week Clemson plays Notre Dame on a neutral field, who you got? You would say Clemson?
I don't know about right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I can say that right now.
Maybe, I think by season's end, we can probably say Clemson. Like once Trevor Lawrence is a little bit more, I don't know. in the weeds as the starter, right? Once he's got a few more snaps under him, I think we can talk about Clemson in the context of them being a lot better than Notre Dame, or at least just being outright better. But yeah, right now on a neutral site, I'm not sure. That's a tough one.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at is I think we all agree that Clemson's a really good team and just loaded down with talent and all that. But in a lot of ways this year, they haven't dominated teams in the way that you expect them to for how good we think they are, right? You know, like beating Georgia Southern 38-7. That's the kind of thing that Georgia Tech does, not an Alabama or a Clemson or an Ohio State would. Things like that is kind of what you've seen from Clemson. I think that I don't know if they're just not trying to totally boat race people or what, but I'm a little bit. I think I'm going to take the points here with Wake Forest. I don't think that they're going to win by any stretch, but I think at some point I could see late in the third, fourth quarter, something like that. You take your foot off the gas. You've got a somewhat banged up Trevor Lawrence. Pull him out of the game. You got a bye week coming up. Try to get healthy. You know, don't do too much. And I could see Wake Forest getting a backdoor cover here. Clemson's defense too. They should be able to just make life a living hell for Sam Hartman this week. But I just don't know that we've really seen it from them in the way that we thought we would or keep expecting to. And so give me Wake Forest in 18, but I will take Clemson outright. I think it'll be a fairly higher scoring game. Maybe go 38-24 would put us right at the number. The total 62.5. 38-24 would put us there, but Wake would cover. I think that's just too many points to give up with Clemson right now, given what we saw from Trevor Lawrence last week and the struggle against Syracuse, going on the road to Winston-Salem, all this. Give me the Deeks. I'll take the Deeks to cover.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a crazy man. Maybe I'm a crazy man. I'm going contrarian on a couple of these this week, so maybe this is where the hot streak dies. I've been pretty good on the picks so far this year, but maybe I'm not thinking it. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, there's Skip Bayless, Colin Coward, intentional contrarian. I see you.
Hey, those guys are my idols if you know nothing else about me. Let's move on. 12:30 on the ACC Network Extra. Boston College on the road in Raleigh against the number 23 NC State Wolfpack. The Wolfpack, a 4.5-point home favorite. A.J. Dillon, the D-Train, is a game-time decision, Mike. And, I was kind of even forgetting a little bit about the fact that he was a little bit banged up. I think I like NC State 4.5 here. NC State's been playing good football. They can really – Ryan Finley's having a good year. I don't love their defense, but I don't, really hate it either. I think get that game at home, and especially if they can bottle them up and make Anthony Brown throw the ball, I think I like the Wolfpack here to cover 4.5. That's a low number.
You mentioned A.J. Dillon as a game-time decision. Boston College on the road, game-time decision. This is going to be a very interesting game here on Saturday. Is NC State any good? Well, I think they beat a Virginia team that might be decent. Maybe, right? It would have been a nice measuring stick to have that West Virginia game that got canceled. It would be really nice to know what NC State actually looks like against a team that's pretty good. We don't know a ton about NC State, Boston College. Well, I mean, they were ranked for a second, and then they blew it against Purdue. So that's where we're at with BC. Without A.J. Dillon, this is a real struggle. With A.J. Dillon, still might be pretty tough, especially on the road. I think NC State wins. I am not feeling great about this line at all without knowing A.J. Dillon's status. And I guess, if he's a game-time decision, I'm just going to assume that he goes. I think he'll be less than 100%, obviously. I think NC State wins this game at home in Raleigh, and they cover. Barely.
Ooh.
Barely.
Mike, you're gonna take favorites in every game this week, aren't you?
Well, I mean, we haven't previewed the Pitt game yet, so yes. That being said, yes, I am taking favorites in every game this week.
We'll get there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Cam, what you got?
We'll get there, but I really echo a lot of you guys' sentiments. I definitely think that North Carolina State is the better team. I think that A.J. Dillon is the real determiner on the the on the line part. I think that NC State's going to win. If AJ Dillon plays, I don't think NC State's going to cover. I think it could be like a 27-24 type game. If AJ Dillon does not play, then I don't really see it being, a contest. At the end, I think it's going to be a touchdown or more. And I know I've said that a couple of times, but I really think that the teams that are the better teams in these matchups are pretty clearly so. So yeah, you guys said a lot of things about both teams. Like, yeah, it would have been great to see NC State against West Virginia, who's obviously a good team. With Steroids McGee at quarterback, it would have been nice, to see that. And
with who?
Oh, Steroids McGee, Will Greer, Steroids McGee from Florida, who went over there. Oh yeah. So,
I just wanted to hear you call him that again. To be honest.
Oh yeah. And I mean, in that whole thing when he got suspended and everything, he's like, well, things happen. It's like, you did steroids, right? He's like, well, things happen. It was like, you did steroids. Like, I mean, hey, like if you do it, then you do it. So Steroids McGee at quarterback is playing really well, and that 13-year-old phenom David Sills V is catching everything in America, thrown by in his wingspan area. So that would have been a really good game. But either way, I do think that NC State is the better team than Boston College. And I think that, with A.J. Dillon not being at 100%, I think that NC State is going to load the box. And I think that they have the defensive secondary players to kind of contest the catches at the point of catch down the field that Anthony Brown, the Boston College quarterback, has been hitting all year. Because obviously, if you're playing Boston College, the goal is to take away the run and make this quarterback throw. And he's been able to do that. I don't necessarily see that being so successful against NC State, even though I do think there's going to be some success. I don't think it's going to be, what was that Friday night game when he had 5 touchdowns like a couple weeks ago? Like, I don't think it's going to be anything like that. So definitely give me NC State. If I assume that A.J. Dillon's going to play, I'll take Boston College in the points. So I don't think the NC State's going to cover on that, but just know that I've said here, if A.J. Dillon is out on Saturday, that NC State is going to win and they're going to cover and we're going to move on with our lives.
I would imagine at this point, if it's Wednesday evening and they're saying it's a game time decision, I think we just assume that he plays, but he's not 100%. Mm-hmm. It's like if they're still trying to decide, maybe he can, maybe he can't, but he won't be full effectiveness, 100% D train, so it's how much he impacts the limited. I've watched Anthony Brown this year, and he has played in 5 games. 4 of them he has no picks. 1 of them he has 4 picks. Like, I don't know which one we're going to get. I lean closer to the 4-pick Anthony Brown than the no-pick Anthony Brown. Even last week against Temple, he didn't throw any picks, but he was less than 50% completion. I mean, at some point, they're going to need him to step up and make some throws, and I'd like to think that NC State is going to be able to give him a hard time doing that, either rushing the passer or covering in the secondary. So I think let's take NC State 4.5, but I'm curious to see this game. I think this is a really good measuring stick game for both of these teams.
Yep.
Agreed.
All right, last one, 12:20 p.m. on the ACC Network Extra. The Syracuse Orange, a 3.5-point road favorite at Heinz Field.
Only 3.5.
Mike, tell us why you're taking Syracuse in this game.
Oh, Pitt is so bad. They're so bad. I wasted the so bad adjective on Louisville. So I'll use this one. Pittsburgh, still trash, boys. Still really, really trash. Hot garbage, light it on fire, stick it on your neighbor's front porch.
Not hot garbage, Mike. Wow.
Oh, man. Really, really bad team.
I've been trying to keep up with all the different types of fires I've been referring to teams as. Trash fire, grease fire. I don't think I've called anyone a tire fire yet, but Pitt might be a bit of a tire fire. Is that fair?
Syracuse minus the points. Oh, my God. Eric Dungy is going to throw for at least 400 yards. And that's on the conservative side. This Pittsburgh secondary can't tie their shoes. This is going to be so bad. Kenny Pickett, game manager. I feel like I say the same thing every week. Pitt is just so bad. They're terrible. How is this only a 3.5-point spread? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Syracuse went on the road last week, damn near beat Clemson, and we're sitting here the following week saying they're only 3.5 points better than Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's terrible. They're a terrible football team.
I'll make it one step weirder for you. This game opened at Syracuse -6, and the line has come down.
What?
Yeah, I don't get it. Who's betting Pittsburgh to play a close game at this point or to score with a team like Syracuse?
I have something to say. It's not me. Syracuse by a ton of points. Syracuse by 1 million.
Pittsburgh
got anything to add? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just don't. And yeah, I don't think Pittsburgh's very good. And then, I know that, people are probably sick of me talking about Miami, but Pittsburgh was not very good last year. And they exposed Malik Rozier for being abjectly terrible. And that's why Miami's undefeated season came to an end last year against a bad team with a game manager quarterback, because they packed the box and they stacked the line. They played press man free across the board and said, Miami, Malik Rozier, hit a throw, and then you guys can win. And he didn't. And this is the same kind of a team. You're seeing other teams doing to Pittsburgh what Miami should do to Pittsburgh, and I look forward to Miami doing to Pittsburgh the Saturday after Thanksgiving. All of that being said, Syracuse, I believe, is building something. I'm not saying there's going to be a championship contender, but they all are buying in to what Dino Babers is selling up there. Eric Dungy, and I was talking to another journalist down here. Dude, he's bigger than I thought. I thought he was like in that Baker Mayfield 6'6'1". He's like 6'3", 6'4", 215. Like, he's a big dude. When you see him quarterback run, think about like that thin outside backer. That's the size of this kid. And he can throw the ball all over the place. They scheme you. They do that, Baylor spread, that Bowling Green that we talked about earlier, who passed all over Georgia Tech last week. That's the guy, or that offense that they're running there. Syracuse is running with better athletes than that. I don't think Pittsburgh has a snowball's chance in hell. Give me Syracuse. Yeah, hey, man, Mike, we're on the same wavelength this week. But
let's go.
Give me Syracuse by a lot. And I think that, even through the heartbreak of losing at the end to Clemson last week, and I mean, because what Travis Etienne scored with like 30 seconds left, or under 30 seconds left. So they played with the three-time defending ACC champion, three-time college football playoff, 2016 national championship team. They played with them for 59 and a half minutes and fell short. I think that that's not going to be a thing that they wallow in. I think that Syracuse is going to use that to rally around and say, look, if we bring our A game, we can contend with anybody. And this team across the way, with their game manager quarterback and their stupid coach and their defense that doesn't know how to do anything, we're going to blow them out. And I think that that's what's going to happen. Syracuse, and only 3.5. Give me all. You could have tripled that line, and I would still take it at 10.5. Give me that.
Let's go.
Give me that.
Cam, actually, you make a great point, and I have figured out why this line is coming down. This is a letdown game for Syracuse.
No, it's not.
No, people think it is, and normally it would be. I think that, especially, again, if you see all the post-game, the win stuff, when Syracuse beat Florida State, you see that talk. If you see when Syracuse beat Clemson last year, you see that locker room thing, and you just see it getting tighter and more cohesive and everything. This would be a letdown spot normally. It's not this week.
I guess I see what people are seeing in it to some degree. And not to mention, you're going to play in the relative library that is Heinz Field for Pittsburgh. Like, playing that game at 12:20 at Heinz Field, there is going to be just no energy in that stadium, right? And it's going to suck the life out of them, and I could see that causing them a problem. The other thing I know is that Pittsburgh can't score. Pittsburgh can't score. We established a couple weeks ago they scored 35 points against North Carolina. That's still the second most points they've scored since Matt Canada left 2 years ago.
Ooh.
In like 17 games now, they can't score. And that's what Syracuse is going to do best. And hell, if Eric Dungy finds a way to get himself hurt, which is always just, flip a coin, and if it comes up the wrong side, you never know. They still got Tommy DeVito. Syracuse has looked decent with him too. Like, they can score, and they've looked good. There's only been one game this year that Syracuse hasn't won by at least 2 touchdowns, and it was almost knocking off the defending champs, ACC champs. Right? Like, other than that, they kicked the crap out of Western Michigan, Wagner, Florida State, and Connecticut, like, convincingly. Syracuse is a really good team this year, I think. They're one of the better teams in the ACC. I'm with you. Give me Syracuse. I'll lay the 3.5 happily. I would probably, Cam, I would probably lay 2 or 3 times that. Even on the road and all that. I would do it. And you know what? I haven't made a pick of the week yet. Let's take this one. Let's lock this up. Orange minus 3.5. Let's do it.
It sounds like Cam and I already locked it up for you, I think, you know?
and see this thing, I'm gonna let people in, inside baseball for a second. When we were talking about picks of the week before the podcast, Joey said this one really quick, so he took it away from both of us. He's like, oh, so I'm taking Syracuse, right? So it was like, oh, dang it. But we're definitely all in agreement. Yeah. Like, yeah, 2 or 3 times this line, I would bet it. I would pick it with my own money, and I wouldn't think twice about that. Yep. It's not going to be close.
Yep. Joey basically said to me, "Hey, Mike, thanks for logging in a little bit late. Sorry, buddy. I got Syracuse minus 3.5. It's my pick of the week. Suck it." Like, okay, you can have it. I'm betting it though. Like, I'm gonna bet it in real life. It's going
right, and make money off of that in real life. Exactly. Yeah. My bank account thanks you for lowering that line to 3.5.
It's been going real well for me the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to lose on this bet. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, finders keepers, Mike. Finders keepers.
Lock of the year.
No take backsies on the Georgia Tech -4, by the way.
This is even more of a lock than UCF minus 13.5 against Pitt last Saturday. This is more of a lock.
Oh, wow. Especially because of the number. I mean, like, again, because that line could have been 13.5 again this week. Okay, 13.5 I would have considered.
Yes, I would have.
Yes. But again, 3.5 times the line currently, 3.5 would have been 10.5. I would have bet that, and I wouldn't have thought twice. Like, Pittsburgh's not good. Syracuse is going to win by 1 million. Everybody take that to the bank or your local bookie or your bet online or whatever it is, and then just whatever you want to do. You want to go out to that nice dinner or take your or romantic partner out and splurge on them a little bit because of the money that you won on that bet. Just remember us here at the Basketball Conference podcast and thank us later.
As they say, Cam, you can bet this game like it's already been played.
Yes.
Yes.
Since we are hardly above cheap radio ads for betting services. So
it's done.
That's all we got this week, guys. Syracuse -3 is my pick of the week. Mike's got Georgia Tech -4 at Louisville. Cam has Miami minus 13.5 at home against Florida State. Should be a fun week. I got a little bit of disagreement going here with taking Wake plus 18 against Clemson and Louisville +4 against my own Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. But overall, I mean, again, only 6 games, but a pretty dense and fun slate, I think. We'll learn quite a bit about several of these teams, so make sure you tune into these games. Cam, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you so much for coming on. It is always a pleasure having you on, and of course, an absolute treat to start rivalry week this way. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, man, definitely. It's always a pleasure, to come on with you guys, and I hope that you guys out there in podcast or video land are enjoying this as well. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Underwood Sports. The website is at The State of the U on Twitter. We're also stateoftheu.com, and I think it's The State of the U on Facebook as well. We have a rivalry week story stream going on. We were talking about our favorite FSU players ever. What's up, Chris Ricks, 0-5 against Miami. Miss you, buddy. And a variety of other things. So, yeah, whether it's, on social or, hey, if you have my phone number, stop by. Or if you're going to be at a game, I'm always tailgating before I go on the press box and everything. So lots of places where you can find me and hope that you do. And, again, it's always a pleasure to catch up with my good friends, Joey and Mike. So thanks for having me.
I say this every time you come on, Cam. If you're a Miami fan and you're looking for Miami coverage and you're not going to stateoftheu.com, you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Man, I really appreciate that. We work really hard. So, and I know that you guys wouldn't just lightly say that or anything, but yeah, I really appreciate it. We work really hard. We have a great staff. We have a diversity of thought. So we don't all, we're not all yes men and we don't all agree on things. I mean, just like, Joey, Mike, and myself, we don't always agree on things in the podcast, but, we try to bring you some of the best coverage around. So I really appreciate that, guys. So stateoftheu.com. If you haven't messed with us and had gone over there before, check it out if you're a Miami fan, or even if you're a rival fan of another ACC team, just to see, behind the curtain of the Miami Hurricanes, see what's going on. Check us out. You might find something you like.
Cam, just remember, diversity of thought is always good, but Malik Rozier truthers do not belong on your staff.
Yeah, I think, and we have one, by the way, and he will, send emails and Slack messages, and I just kind of roll my eyes, but yeah, he's, Malik Rozier, he did a very great job for us in the time that he did, but he was always supposed to be a stopgap, and I'm glad that gap was stopped and then turned over to, N'Kosi Perry and things like that. So yeah, no more Malik Rozier truthers. And if they do pop up, like little trolls or something, Mike and I will be there on Twitter to mash them down.
Yep, we'll be there.
Cam, you're the man. Appreciate it. Come back soon.
Anytime, guys. I'll talk to you.
All right, Mike, that's all we got. We got to get out of here. I got to go to Louisville and watch my team, just being I'm going to be in an emotional puddle the whole game. So Look out for me on TV. I'm sure I'll be on there. In the meantime, you guys can find us on Twitter. I am at FTRS Joey. He is at Mike McDaniel CFB. Together, we're at BC Podcast ACC. And once again, you can go follow Cam at the State of the U or at Underwood Sports on Twitter. Again, for all sorts of great Miami coverage. So go check him out there. Mike, they can send us an email with their questions, comments, concerns to the longest email address known to man, basketballconferencepodcast@gmail.com.
Nailed it.
They can find us on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, the Overcast app, wherever fine podcasts are sold for free, potentially on Spotify, potentially on Stitcher or other places. I don't know. We're working on it, but only so hard. Mike, tell them where they can find us on the social medias.
Facebook.com/basketballconference. Rate, review, find all of our podcasts there. Rate and review us on iTunes too. Make sure you do that.
Absolutely. Please do. We really appreciate those. Come on, find us on YouTube if you want. We post videos of these now. Just search for Basketball Conference. We don't have a fancy URL or anything, but you can see Cam in one of his 6 billion Miami orange shirts. I think every time I've ever talked to him, he's been wearing one of those.
I mean, duh. I got to rep my squad. This one is La Fuerza. That's the student section shirt that we got in 2001, which is a national championship year for Miami. But hey, I have orange and I have green and white also, so it's not always orange.
Well, hell yeah. All right, so go on YouTube and check that out if you want. And other than that, Mike, I think that's all we got. You want to come back and recap these games when the weekend's over?
We got to.
Absolutely. We are committed at this point. We're all in.
We are. Yep. Let's do it.
All right. Well, enjoy the games. And until then, for Mr. Mike McDaniel, Mr. Cam Underwood, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. And until next time, go ACC.